Apologies to members and to the audience for the delay, but when we don't have a quorum, we can't convene our meeting. So we do now. This is the June 8th, 2021 Planning Board meeting. First, we'll take roll call of members. So we have to do audible roll call. Stu Hardy. Stu, you need to unmute. Find the mute button. Oh, there, there. I can't hear you though. You're muted again.
Here.
Hey, there you go. Okay, so Stu, Rosemary.
Here.
Christine Shea.
Here.
Janice Gomes.
Here.
And I'm Susan Gill. I'm the chairman of the planning board. So that's 5. So we have our quorum, and we also have Mike Marcello, who is our attorney. Jennifer Siciliano is the administrative officer planner. Capri is our clerk, and Kelly Ravenel is from Steer Engineering. And John Hoyle is on the screen right now. He is the building official. So a couple announcements. The first one is Brayton Solar, if anybody's here for that, is going to be continued to the July meeting. And then the other one is because the number of public members from the public that are interested, we are going to, if we have to make a motion to do this, to move item number 3, Groundswell Cafe Grab and Go, to the first item on the agenda. So
I'll make that motion, Madam Chair.
okay.
Rosemary here.
Rosemary, okay, motion. And do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, that's Janice Gomes, second. Any comments? All right, we'll take a vote for this. Stu?
Yes.
Rosemary?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
Janice?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay. All right, so we'll move forward with that, taking the item out of order. All right, so first item will be, what is it? David Firebend and John McDowell, 3879 Main Road, LLC. Commercial design review, Groundswell Cafe Grab and Go development plan. Plat 706, lots 117 and 118, 3883 and 3879 Main Road, Village Commercial Zoning District. Review and possible vote. We have a time clock of 65 days, and I don't have the date when that expires or when that ends at this time. So I know whoever's here representing that petition, they can be brought forward and introduce yourselves for the record.
So we have Melissa and John and David. Is there anyone else that I need to add?
So you have, oh, there's Melissa. Okay, Melissa.
Melissa, do you know if there's anyone else?
David Daddario is, there we go.
Is present as well. Okay.
David, I think you're on mute.
Right. So
Very sure.
All right.
the best place to start with this. This is for changes. I don't know if we start with you, Melissa, to have you present.
Madam Chair, Richard Daddario, the petitioner.
Oh, hi. Sorry.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for meeting with us tonight.
Sorry for the delay.
And we've been waiting patiently to appear before the before the planning board because we have some important projects that we're in the middle of and we'd like to proceed with. So right now we're here for an Article 20 site plan review. I understand that there have been a couple of items that were involved in this petition that have been waived by the building official and the planner. So I think those are subject to the appointment of a technical review committee. I don't know if you want to do that first, but basically the bluestone replacement of bluestone in the rear of the building, the plantings, and the trees were all waived. But I think they're subject. I was told that was subject to the technical review committee. that would be appointed from the board. So, and then we were ready to proceed on the other items.
Okay, well, just to get everybody on the same page, I was going to have ask Melissa Hutchinson, the architect, to present the project to the board so everybody understands what we're looking at and with the plans. And I don't know if you can screen share them, Melissa, to just basically go through what it is that we're looking at.
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Okay, thanks.
David, they're on that sheet too, right there. Let's pull it up. Yeah, all the items.
Can everyone see my screen?
No, we see your whatever.
We see your screen, but it's just PDFs.
Oh, that's what they are.
I think you're sharing your window versus your desktop.
All right, hold on one second here. I apologize. So, okay. All right, can you see the plans now?
Yes.
Okay, so we are looking at where the Grab and Go Cafe will be installed in this existing building. You guys can see my cursor, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so essentially the exterior of the building is having very minor changes. All of these changes will happen at the back of the building, which is to the west of the L of the building. So the proposal is to basically reconfigure the existing landing and the ramp. So right now the ramp kind of comes in this way. So we're making a new ADA accessible ramp that comes in directly. And then these doors on the exterior would be replaced with a French door instead of a solid door, but the opening would remain the same width. And then we are proposing that there would be 3 new skylights that would be on the north side of the building. And then there are cooler units inside that space. And so those would require a condensing unit outside the building. The condensing unit's actually half this size. It's the same width, but it's not quite as deep. The existing patio bluestone is what Richard D'Addario was referring to as item number 1. That's the item that was given a waiver. And then there would be a new awning above this existing door, which is referenced. So if we look at the building in elevation, this is the elevation that faces Main Road. There are no changes to this elevation whatsoever. And then again, looking at the 1-story portion of the building, these are the existing windows. There would be a new awning above this door. And then you can see the ramp and the new landing. On the opposite side, these are the 3 skylights in that 1-story roof. And then the AC unit would be here right next to the existing window well. And then on the back side of the building facing west, you can see the new doors. So again, these were previously solid doors. Now they would be a French door with clear glass, and the ramp would enter directly into those doors. And there would be a new sign located directly above those doors. So here are the existing conditions where you can see the ramp previously went in from the side. But essentially, the only changes to the exterior are really the sign, the door, and then those 3 skylights. No changes to the second floor. So kind of going to, if you're looking at the description of work, that's everything that pertains to 3879. So if we were to go to, let's see, I'm just going to open up a new file to show the site plans. Let's see. All right, can everyone see the site plan?
Yes.
Okay, so here again is the same building, and this is that back portion of the L where those exterior changes are happening. So you can see the new ramp, the landing. There's some new plantings proposed. And then there's a new brick patio that's roughly 14 feet by 30 feet that exists in this area to the north of the Groundswell Cafe. And then there is a split rail fence that's indicated by this long line and dot that goes to the north of 3879. And I think that covers, you can see a few new plantings in the front of the building, but otherwise I think that covers everything that we are proposing.
Okay. Not sure where to start with all this. I guess it's easier to start with the building. If people have from the planning board, we'll start with planning board members. Or I don't know. If you have questions about the building itself. Any comments or questions? But the only thing I was wondering, I just wanted to throw out to the group. Our group is the skylights. I don't know if people had issues with that, with it being in a historical district, or as far as the design elements, that's the only thing that I could see is maybe something that would be up for comment on that. I don't know if Christine or Stu or anybody else has any strong feelings one way or another, or wishes to comment on the skylights.
South of the burger shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I don't have any issues with the skylights.
Okay, is that Christine?
Yes.
Okay, all right, yeah, because I don't see you on the screen. I just need to identify you for the public. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a big problem with that. I just didn't know if anybody else had any issues with that as far as being within, historical keeping or whatever in there.
Madam Chair, could I just add that down the street?
Speaking- Sorry.
This is Richard Daddario speaking
Oh, okay.
on
sorry.
behalf of the petitioners.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, if you go further down on the same side of the street as the subject property, past the Neck Road intersection, you come to, I think it's the Coriel,
It's behind the
whatever it
garden
is.
shop,
They
behind the
have,
garden
they have skylights on the top of their building.
Okay.
And those have been there a while, and they look fine. These are not big intrusions into the building, and where they are situated in this building, I think is not going to have a visual effect on anything that
Right.
would impair the historic character of the building.
Right, I just wanted to put.
I agree with that.
Who is that? Sorry, is that you, Stu? Sorry.
That was me.
I was not following. Okay, I just wanted to make sure everybody, if people had issues with that or not, because that was the only thing that really seemed like it wasn't within kind of the historical framework. And does anybody else have questions about it? Some of these items?
Sue, this is Christine again. I was just curious what the material is going to be for the handrail and guardrail.
So I don't know if we've specified that, but we would like to be in keeping, similar to the existing rail that's there. And so I believe we're probably just going to use a natural exterior grade wood like a cedar.
Yeah,
It'll be cedar.
it'll be, yeah, it won't be pressure treated wood or anything that's not in keeping with what would be more natural look. It'll be cedar of some kind, and it won't be painted. It'll be custom. It's going to be a custom railing, so it'll be everything my clients are doing. I think is going to be as tasteful as it can be, as they've shown in the past.
Okay. Is there a walkway from that lower ramp to the parking area, or is that just going to be grass, or because it's not really labeled?
So you can see the walkway is actually fairly short in relationship to where the parking starts. And so that would just be a crushed gravel, which is very common on this site. There are other areas of crushed gravel.
All right, yeah, because you have that other gravel pathway coming off the patio. I guess that's new that you're proposing as well.
That's going away, and that's a wood walkway now.
Oh, that's
That's gonna go away, yeah.
Oh, because that was the wood walkway, and it's not going to be a gravel.
Exactly, we're just taking it away, so it'll be, the patio's on grade now, so it's really not needed.
Oh, all right, so that's gonna be eliminated. Okay. All right,
As you guys might know, this door was previously the kind of the primary entrance, and we're really trying to redirect everybody so that these doors will be the new primary entrance.
oh, okay. All right, what are the larger squares around the bluestone patio? Well, I don't know what, yeah, those squares, what do those represent?
Those represent the bluestone that was kind of inset, but they're at grade level.
And so the big square is just the same, or what's the part in the center then?
So previously, I think we had some gravel in here, and now basically I believe it's all bluestone. David, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be all bluestone. And I think, Jennifer, we sent you some pictures a few weeks back on that. I'm not sure if it was distributed, but there was existing bluestone there. We're going in kind and patio size. We just actually took it down to grade.
Okay, all right, that's why I just know.
Yeah, it's shown on the site plan, by the way. L101, which is the last.
It'll be a dry laid patio with gaps between them with the stone fines dust for just so it can be porous.
And is there a purpose for the patio?
So there was an existing patio there before, so it was for tenants. There was seating out there and things like that, and we just plan on, the grab and go is not seating, it's a quick in and out. A lot of we've seen a lot of lines, obviously, at the cafe, so we're trying to mitigate that and offer sandwiches. It's more like beach goer kind of in and out. So we're trying to just expedite that, so that it's really just to have back in that space what was there.
All right, so you're not planning to put tables and chairs there?
There'll probably be a table as was existing before, table and chairs, but we don't really anticipate anybody like sitting in it from the grab and go. It's not a sit down restaurant. It's more a purveyor of goods. There's going to be, spices and things like that.
Okay.
This is Rosemary. I was down there last night, and the stones that are there now, are those the ones that are going to be used?
So Rosemary, there's two piles. One is the old pile that is starting to shale. It's all splitting.
Yes.
So we just kept that. The new ones that are there are thermal and new ones, and they're just flatter and more safe to walk on. But yeah, that is exactly what's going to be there.
Okay. Now, Melissa said that your main entrance is going to be the handicapped area there.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and the parking will be handicap parking on each side of the walkway?
We were planning on doing handicap. Melissa, were we planning on doing handicap there? I mean, I think the intention was there really isn't any handicap parking in all of Four Corners. So we did want to have a couple spaces for that just on our own. So I think the intention was to have handicap on the left and right side.
The parking is all gravel and there's no striping. And
Right.
so potentially we could use concrete bumpers to indicate, and maybe if we have these planting boxes here, we could attach some signage that would make it more clear that that's accessible parking.
Yep.
What's the total square footage of the building, both floors?
Good question. It's probably, I would have to look it up. I don't know offhand. I know that this retail space is 311 square feet.
I'm just wondering, as far as how much square footage this whole area is for how many parking spaces you're going to be required to have. So the upper and the lower levels. And the other question, I don't know, is the bathroom that's on the first floor, is that going to be for the office or the building only, or is that public restroom?
Building only.
Okay. Okay.
I can tell you that the building footprint is remaining the same. It's not increasing in size at all.
Right.
Excuse me if I may, this is Kelly Ravenel from Steer Engineering. I just had a quick question about the ADA compliance. So if both the parking and the walkway in front of the proposed new opening is gravel, that's not considered ADA compliant unless it's continuously maintained, like stabilized with binders or compacted. But so I was just curious, or more so of a note, that gravel isn't always ADA compliant. And when it is, it usually requires constant maintenance.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, you know what we do for a living. So I think, so we were planning to use, we didn't bring it up because I wasn't sure everybody's aware, but we were planning to use decomposed granite with a stabilizer in that space, which is generally considered ADA.
Okay.
Okay. I guess, I guess the other thing that we wanted, a number of people are wondering about is what all the use is going to be of this new space. Are you doing any, I don't see a kitchen, but you're doing coffee in there. Is there going to be food prep? Are you bringing food into it? How are you going to run your business?
No open food, no food prep. It's all prepared foods. We already have a trade name registration with the town for the purpose of that space, which is basically specialty retail.
And all the food is prepared at the cafe, and then it's just brought, it's prepackaged, and we actually aren't even doing coffee, correct? Yeah.
Oh, you're not
Yeah,
doing
no.
coffee counter?
No food handling.
Okay, so where's the food coming from?
The cafe. Yeah, so the way it's gonna work is that we're selling it to this business. So,
Well, it's prepared food
yeah.
from the cafe, but there's also purchased food for retail, such as chips and drinks, and basically something that people may, you know, go in to pick up to take to the beach or something.
Okay. Okay. The other big question I guess I have is the fence area, what the purpose is of the fence?
Let me just address that for a second. The fence, the fence was added for a good reason, and that is to provide some order to the whole area, because you have, as you know, the village, Four Corners has people walking all over the place for shopping reasons, and they can cross the street from the grass that's there now. With the fence, it's gonna require anybody in that area to go around and walk across the street at a crosswalk or something of that sort, rather than jaywalk. It's gonna contain whatever clientele there are for the grab and go, as well as the groundswell. As you know, the Four Corners is it's a community. People park in different parking places all over the place, and they'll walk from one store to another. So rather than have them just walking willy-nilly jaywalking across the street, the idea of the fence is to contain, have some order, have some sense of order to the property. I think the fence is good looking. I think it's tasteful. It's compatible with the historic nature of the Four Corners, and it's very, it's not a solid fence. It's very unobtrusive. So
yeah, I mean,
Sue also,
yeah, and I think so. We also, being there and seeing kind of the energy that we've created, we noticed that people were just camping out with blankets and kind of creating their own picnic space within that, on the green space. We really just wanted to kind of, I mean, our landscape architecture work is all about creating rooms, and we really just wanted it. I mean, anybody could walk through it, crawl under it. So it's not intention to keep people in or out. It was really more to designate a space for the village, include all the tenants to have a kind of a warm and welcoming space. We also wanted to do, the kids at our cafe had come up with planter beds. They're making them. It's part of the mentorship program. And the idea was that they were going to grow cutting flowers in these raised planter beds within that space as well for the cafe, and then herbs and things like that. So it was really more just to designate a room. So it doesn't really have a venue intention.
Are you leaving it open? Are you putting tables or benches and chairs out there?
So right now, when we inherited the building, there was always, I think, a few picnic tables that were within that space. Our intention would be to put nicer picnic tables in there, upgrade it a little bit. We have 6 planned for that space that we'd like to put in there, that, if someone's having lunch at the Cheese Wheel, or someone is hanging out at Tiffany's space and they want to come over, then it's kind of just an open space if you wanted to read a book. So we're kind of just opening it for the community. So there's no, keep out or something like that. It was more community driven.
All right. I do appreciate a lot of what you're doing there and what you've done and the way that you've done it. I want to, at this point, out of the building officials here, if you can address some of, I guess, just help us along. I don't know that kind of creation of space would count as, if you're expanding your use. The thing is that area is very fragile environmentally, which you're probably aware of, with it being so close to Nonquit Pond, with the precarious nature of both water and septic down there. And, it's like you have a good business and it's bringing a lot of people and cars into the area, but it's also then being more taxing on the land down there. And there are things in zoning that standards that you have to meet. So I don't know if John Hoyle is here now. I don't know if we could get him to comment on a couple of these things.
Yeah.
Which is one.
Before we do that, I do want to point out that we're here for an Article 20 review and not for a total review of any zoning issues that may or may not exist with respect to this property. And David would like to speak to that as well.
Yeah, board. I would also, so as you know, that space can have a building built on it, which I feel would be much more taxing than us being able to than us kind of enclosing it as green space. Our intention, as long as we own it, and hopefully that's a long time and forever, is not to build a building on there. We like the open green space. So I feel like this is obviously less taxing than a building per se. So, but yeah, I mean, I understand your concerns.
Okay, I still like to bring John Hoyle in just to talk to us about, the requirements, because he did submit a letter that talked about the use for this and just any other comments that he might have about the project. So if you could take down, I don't know, John, if you're there. There he is. You just need to unmute. I think you're still muted. I don't know if you have a video camera.
There we go.
Sure.
Hi.
Hi.
Good evening, folks. I just let me shut this up. I'm going two different ways here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm working on the computer in the phone. My computer speaker is very quiet. I just I have a very brief comment in that what the planning board approves as far as the aesthetics, all these things, has absolutely no bearing on what happens with zoning, building, all the codes that my office is in charge of ensuring. Okay, and I don't want to interject anything that might have an opinion pro or con, okay, for what they're proposing. I want to say I've been down there. My professional opinion, they're making the place beautiful. No question about it. Okay. The problem lies within what's allowed for that space. And Mr. Marcello and I had a brief conversation in which, I concur. This meeting is solely for whether or not the planning board concurs with what the aesthetics are going to be to that building. Anything that goes beyond that is going to take some time and effort for us to review and determine what is and isn't allowed, and then work with the owners on trying to come into some level of compliance so that they can do what it is they want to do. So, Mike, you concur?
Yeah, so as the lawyer indicated, this is a Article 20 site review plan. Planning board's role is limited to the extent that there's a zoning or potential for zoning violations that will have to be handled by the zoning officer. And they're going to look at things like parking requirements, the intensity of the use of the building, ISDS issues, those kind of things through DEM. But that's not what this board wouldn't have any jurisdiction over that at this point. But we obviously intend to and will enforce the zoning provisions related to parking, use, seating, those kind of issues, as they're all interrelated.
We would be more than happy to meet with the solicitor and the building officials and the planner or whatever it takes to make sure that we're in compliance with everything. But like I said, I don't think that's before this board tonight. The only other thing I would add on behalf of the petitioners is that there were many, many letters of support. These were all unsolicited. I'd like them to be introduced into the record of this proceeding. I don't know if they were distributed to everyone by email. If they weren't, I would ask that these be part of the record. I think they're extraordinary letters.
Right, I'll do that. We did receive the letters and
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I'll go through that.
And yeah, they're extraordinary letters from some very important people in town who have all made the same basic point, and that is that things have been done right. It's increased the visual beauty of the area. It has increased the business in the area, and it's given employment opportunities to many people. So I don't think obstacles should be put in place. That doesn't mean that we don't want to comply with whatever is out there that we have to comply with. That's why we're here tonight. So we continue to work as best we can with the town on this. And thank you.
Okay. All right. The item I want to interject though is under Article 20 design review. It does allow the planning board to consider site plan showing the location and dimension of all buildings and other structures such as walls and fences, means of ingress and egress, circulation patterns and traffic control and location, and dimensions of all parking and loading areas and pedestrian safety. And that does fall under design review.
Right.
For the planning board.
That's what we're doing tonight.
Right. So the other big area of concern that we wanted to go through is a bit of the parking and circulation. We can go through that because in addition to the 12 letters of support, we did receive a letter signed by 24 people in the area that do have some concerns that they wanted to have the opportunity to voice through a letter. So those will also be recognized.
We haven't seen those letters. Can we get a copy of those? Nobody circulated them to us.
Yeah.
Were they filed with the planner?
Yeah, they were sent to us, so we'll have them sent to you. We'll have it sent to you as well. No.
Yes, we just received them today.
Yeah, so you'll get that. And the other thing before we go into all that was the waivers. So there was the meeting that you had. You did have the request. We received the letter for the 4 waivers, but we don't have anything in writing, the results of that meeting or whatever. So I would like either to request it in writing or have the planner go through it. All we have is the architect saying that a couple of them were waived. So I would like some clarification on that for the record, what specifically was requested to be waived and if they were.
I can tell you.
Okay.
I can tell you. Yes.
Okay.
So the 2 things that were waived, there were only 2. One was the landing in the back, because it was out of the site, it was behind the building and it was being replaced in the same configuration as the prior patio. And then the second waiving was of the planting of the trees. So,
so what item?
let me say what are the things that they're asking for today. What they applied for was to install a 14-foot by 30-foot brick patio, the split rail fence, other plantings, the ADA wood ramp, the AC condensing unit, the replacement of the west entry double doors, the groundswell grab and go sign, and the 3 new skylights. Those are what they're asking for.
They're asking all that to be waived?
No, not to be waived. That's for tonight. So the 2 things that were waived,
okay.
landing and the trees. That's it.
So what you're saying is that stuff we don't need, those two items we aren't considering? Is that what you're saying? That you waived? them?
Yes,
Your group
just
waived?
the landing and planting of trees. Yes.
Okay,
The other things are under your tonight for your review,
okay,
things I mentioned.
okay. Well, I guess we should go through that because that's the other item, I guess it hasn't been really addressed yet, is the brick patio. Because that's on the other parcel, that's on, was it 3883, the cafe site? That's not on the grab and go site. It took me a trip down there to figure that out. So that puts that parcel under our design review also, I would assume, because you're putting a patio out there. And so my question again is what are you planning to use the patio for?
So there was a half-baked entryway from Main Road. It wasn't really a curb cut, but it was used by cars. It was never an official curb cut on any traffic records. It was a difficult in and out for people coming right out to Main Road, right near the intersection, probably illegal. It makes more sense to close that off and to utilize that space, not as a couple of parking spaces, which have been relocated to the back of the building, where it's better to have everybody parked in the back of the building and not have cars all over the place. That brick patio is tastefully done. The materials are compatible with the existing sidewalks and other brick walkways in the area. And the idea was to provide for additional seating for the cafe. There will be a couple of tables out there, a few tables, maybe 3 or 4 on that patio. And so people who have their food, they can walk out there. There's no table service, of course. There's no table service anywhere at Groundswell. They can sit there and enjoy their lunch or a cup of coffee or their breakfast. That's what the space is designed for.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Daddario, it's Rosemary again. How many tables do you think you'll be out there? There's some beautiful planters out there right now with hibiscus. I mean,
Yeah, they framed it with the planters, which are real nice. I think probably about 4 tables. They'll be small though. They won't be big tables.
No, they're Rosemary, there are 4 tables and seats of 4 around them with umbrellas.
more umbrellas.
Yes, yeah.
So that situation, that goes to the zoning officer, I assume? Mike?
As far as the tables,
Yes.
yeah, so the issue is the how many tables or how many, there's a capacity limit to that building that's been verified by based upon the tables that are in there for the DEM and those kind of issues. So that's one of the issues we're going to be looking at as to how the outside tables may affect the capacity limit of the entire building.
Right.
So they're licensed for a certain number of tables, and everything is permitted based upon the usage of that building. And the issue is if you add tables, are you adding more capacity to a building that's been approved for a certain intensity of use for both sewer and water and other things. So that's something that the planning zoning department is going to have to look into a little bit more.
Right. Well, that's the other thing is that it falls under non-conforming development. It's an expansion of use.
Well, we don't know that yet.
Well, if you go patio, it's an expansion. It's a legal non-conforming use of any parcel of land shall not extend beyond that portion of the lot thus used or otherwise expanded unless a use variance is granted.
It's not the building or the patio that expands the use. They could have put 4 tables on the existing surface that was there before they put the brick patio in. It just makes better sense to have a brick patio than have the stone that was crushed down, and it was not as sightly. It was not as good looking. So it's not the brick. The brick itself should be approved because it's an improvement.
I'm not disputing that it's nice looking. Yeah.
Right? Well, then if we're not here to talk about what the use of it's going to be. Maybe Mr. Marcello and I will talk about that at a later point.
Okay.
Susan,
Yes, go ahead.
I just like to say that Melissa's plans and my own visits to the area convinced me that these upgrades that have been made are high quality. They're consistent with the historic fabric of the neighborhood. And they're pedestrian friendly, and that's something we really need down there. More facilities, more amenities in the summer to handle the pedestrian traffic and to make the pedestrian traffic comfortable. And I think that these good things that have happened are good for the entire business community at Four Corners, because they will attract high quality shoppers who will then go into other stores and other venues and spend their money. So I'm very much in favor of this project, and I congratulate the owners and welcome them to Tiverton. But I believe that we were told that that the issue of septic or on-site wastewater treatment systems is off the table for discussion tonight. Right. So I will respect that, but I would like to just make a quick comment, and this is kind of my friendly advice to the owners. You need to keep your eye on that, because the system that was approved by DEM before you purchased these two properties, and I believe there's one system that operates for both of these, it does have a water flow or wastewater flow capacity. DEM does not enforce this. They do not send inspectors out. So I think that somebody in the town of Tiverton should take a look at this and make sure that it can be managed. There are ways to manage this that would be consistent with DEM regulations, but somebody needs to pay some attention to this, because non-quit pond does have very high levels of phosphorus and nitrogen. And DEM, and in fact, US EPA is working on a TMDL plan for the pond to reduce nitrogen in the case of failing septic systems. So somebody in the town of Tiverton should be paying attention to this. The other issue that I think is also very manageable, but it needs some thought and attention, is parking. Because a lot of people are going to want to come down there, including myself, and visit, grab and go, check it out. So we need to, somebody in the town of Tiverton needs to give some serious thought to how we can handle all of that parking, which has always been a problem at Four Corners, because a lot of the parking is shared. And so just my friendly advice to the owners, we need to keep our eye on that situation to make sure that the parking and the whole traffic circulation is safe and convenient, and motor vehicles can get in and out without any difficulty.
Sure.
Those are my only comments. I think it's a great project and I support it.
Thank you, Stu. And I would just want to say one thing. John wants to talk a little bit about the water flow, but hold on one second. Yeah. So and that was really why we're trying to make it more accessible. And as you know, the way the cafe is set up, like we had no idea this was going to happen, by the way, that it was going to be well-liked and everything going as well as it is. But both sides to the cafe fall into kind of high traffic pathways. So there's not a whole lot we can do about the main road one or neck road one, because it's at a traffic light. We put up signs that encourage people to look both ways. And we now have someone like on the porch kind of talking to people on the busy Saturday and Sundays, like, just be careful. on the side where our new building is, where we put the brick walkway in, since it was not on any town map and it just kind of, or a state map as well, it's not even supposed to be there. So technically it does bisect you from the rest of the shopping and community. So our thought was to just put that in. And and this is just our position, and right or wrong, we were looking at it as, and we did talk to John Hoyle about this, and we were saying it was compacted, stone for years and years. We're replacing it with another material in kind. And John, correct me if I'm wrong, but you agreed that that was the case. So for us, we felt like we were just connecting that side of the cafe and pushing people further in a safer manner out that, towards that area. And yes, parking is like the big buzzword right now with all, everybody down there. So we are working on that. But
And if I could also say, Stuart, thank you for your comments and your recommendations. There are 2 new septic systems in place, one at the grab and go location, which there's no public restroom facility. We had a new restroom put in, or a new septic put in at the cafe. Both systems have metered water use, and we do monitor that flow to make sure that we're not going over the allotted and approved capacity for both locations. In addition, since we've been there and the new septic went in behind the cafe, we were able to add, just by reconfiguring the parking, not adding new area, but by reconfiguring, we were able to add 3 new spaces behind the cafe for a total now of 11. And the cafe also has 15 deeded spaces in the rear of the adjacent properties, plus the 3879, the takeaway parking has a total of 27. So there's quite a bit of parking at both locations. We've been there on busy weekends, and to date, I've not seen an overcrowded situation with parking. There's a little bit of traffic congestion as people making that turn, but there's always space to park. There is also parking, shared parking for the entire village across the street on the east side of Main Road. And I believe that there has been discussion with the state to add 2 crosswalks, David, between connecting both east and west sides of the village along that section of Main Road. There are also 2 porta potties on the east side of the village, at east side of Main Road in the village. We are planning also on having 2 porta potties seasonally behind the cafe, as there were porta potties there for decades with the previous ownership.
I mean, we've become the town bathroom, unfortunately. So
At the cafe.
like everybody agrees, everybody's sending people over to our restaurant or cafe.
On the parking, I just want to also add that they have recently started directing their employees to park across the street behind the meeting house in their larger space. So they do not use the spaces that customers could use. Parking is always an issue. It's going to be an issue. And in a sense, it'll limit the amount of use, which is probably all we can, that's a given. You can't, people aren't going to stop if there's nowhere to park.
And as an add-on to that, our whole reasoning for the takeaway space was not to increase business, but I really feel like it's going to cut down on the business at the cafe, and people are going to go there if they just want something to take away, so they can just run in, grab something and go. I don't think it's bringing more people to the village just for that spot. It's really just to handle maybe overflow from the cafe for people who just want a quick in and out.
Okay. All right. Before we go any further, I just wanted to note all the letters that we did receive in support of your project. There were 12, Tiffany Pay, Jody Snyder, Andy Snyder, Rosalind Weir, Catherine Leary, Ambassador Carden and Rebecca Riley, Seth Price, Aaron Elliott, Bill Thompson and Natalie Pongaro, Cynthia Burns, and there were 2 letters. One had no name on it, and there was another handwritten one that was illegible. So those are all available in the planning office if anybody wants to read them or see them. Then we did receive also a letter that voicing a number of concerns that they had with the increased traffic to the area. And this letter was signed by Ruth Leonard, Robert Martin, Richard Guimond, Lois Kane, Wyatt Garfield, Sandy Dowling, Cecil Leonard, Barbara Martin, Carol Guimond, Don Libby, Todd Moore, Brian Cacase, Bruce Epke, Lynn Peralt, Harton Smith, Sarah Libby, Martha Moore, Diane Cacase, Celeste Berendo Canfield, Maureen Morrow, Mary Bandura, Rachel Garfield, Peter Dowling, and Gary Hansen. So yeah, well, that letter is also available in the planning office if anybody wishes to review that, and we'll make sure that the applicant gets a copy.
Yeah,
Gist of
just-
that
yeah.
was, I'm just,
Sue, can I ask a question? Was it most geared towards like the parking and the traffic situation, or were there other issues?
The
connected?
delivery trucks, it was safety, it was parking, the servers crossing the road to cross the street without looking, customers walking between cars at traffic light, making the turns dangerous, the intersections, blind spot, SUVs and boats attempting to make right turns, having to stop while mid intersection, and cars idling on Neck Road with flashers on, blocking traffic while they're waiting to pick up food or some of the items. I mean, there's a number of issues. I think this, you know, perhaps the town council is a more appropriate venue for this discussion. I don't know if a traffic study is warranted and who would be the people to request that or how that would go. But I know that you know, there has been a lot of congestion lately, and we aren't even to June and July really yet with the summer traffic. And I think, you know, there's a lot of people that are just very concerned about safety issues with way cars are parking, access, limited parking, people crossing streets. You know, and a lot of these people
We're
from
not-
out of town, so they're.
We're not the only show in Four Corners, though. You have Gray's Ice Cream across the street.
I know, they have a
A
big
lot of
parking.
traffic in the summer.
But I mean, Sue, I get it. I mean, we know, obviously, we're coming out of a pandemic. So for us, you know that the parking lot at the Garden Shop was put in as a pop-up, much like the rest of the country did to help their restaurants. So we appreciate that kind of consideration. The intention for the brick patio is to take that seating out and put it on the brick patio so that we weren't even seating in the restaurant until a week ago. We wanted to make sure all our servers were vaccinated, and we finally got the comfort level from them. So we were running the food out because we just didn't want people to be coming back in for it during the pandemic. So from the idea was give that back for, it's 3 parking spaces. And to be honest, I was there all last summer. Most people from Grays were parking in it and going for ice cream. But besides that, the idea is to kind of shift that so we're not having the servers cross the walk. And I know that's
or customers.
or customers as much. We want to encourage them going to the Garden Shop, obviously. But you know, I think that congestion will change.
And we did reach out to DPW, and they were just about maybe doing a crosswalk further down on Neck Road. They said the crosswalk is at the intersection of Neck and Main. They wanted people to cross there. So we did put up signs cautioning people to please look both ways before crossing the street and to use the crosswalk when crossing.
I know, it's difficult. We just wanted to bring that forward. And
No,
Yeah, of course.
And because there has been so much public interest in this, I want to give people the opportunity, you know, if they, I guess, like limit it to 2 minutes, but if there's members of the audience who've been patiently waiting, if they wanted to speak on this petition, I would allow that. It's not a public hearing, but given the high public interest, I would make that exception for this application. So I don't know if
Okay.
Jennifer, if there's people that want to.
Yes, there's a Seth Price with his hand raised. If anyone would like to speak, please raise your hand in Zoom and I'll allow you to speak. So this is Seth Price.
Okay. Hi.
Hello. Hi, I'm Seth Price. I'm a neighbor. I live on Nonquit Pond at 3921. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I mean, this is a huge challenge when you 2 things. One is you really want the success of a small business and entrepreneurs to make a community grow, and also want to deal with some of the congestion that happens in an area that's growing, having nothing to do with groundswell. There's very few properties on the market for sale. The market has been crazy. There's a lot of new residents, myself included. And, for us, the quality of life that they have provided has been exceptional. And I've also lived in other communities where, the new neighbor was a chain, a CVS or a Subway, or someone not necessarily interested in supporting the community and building connections with the community and supporting other businesses. And so I do hear we certainly have rules and regulations for a reason, but I would, strongly urge whatever support that you can give to a small business, because it's exceptionally hard and the margins are so low in these businesses. And to get a business that's willing to invest their own money into the community to make it a better place for everyone that's there is a rare find. And so I say that because I've run restaurants myself. I've been an entrepreneur all my life, and sometimes you get lucky and you got lightning in a bottle with groundswell, and it is rising all the ships around it, meaning the other businesses are benefiting from that. And we need to do whatever we can to support that as consumers and as administrators and community members. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Tiffany Pay.
Okay. Hi, Tiffany. Go
Hi,
ahead.
thank you. I'm Tiffany Pay. I have a business right next door to Groundswell, and I've been in the neighborhood for 14 years now. I used to be in their newest building for a short time, and I just wanted to say, as a community, we are thrilled with the aesthetic and the conscientiousness and the energy that Groundswell brings to Tiverton Four Corners. I think that their development of the green space is a really beautiful thing. It shows people where to go and where to be. The aesthetic is incredible, and it's just a really beautiful energy in the neighborhood. I want to just show my complete support for what they're doing, and all the, we have a very vital merchants association at this time. We have more members than we've ever had, and as a group, I can't speak for the group, but my feeling from the group is all positive. They're thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Tiffany.
Okay. Oh. What just happened there? So, oops. Okay, participants. So no one else is raising their hand, but somebody did ask a question that was anonymous and said, how can citizens get involved to encourage the town to put in sidewalks for pedestrian safety? I don't know that answer, but.
Okay. All I know is that it's a state road, so it's through DOT. As far as I know, the discussions that have gone that way in the past. But yeah, that's for another entity, I think, to work on that one.
If I may, Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to say that I am a lifelong resident of Tiverton Four Corners, south of there, and what has transpired, aesthetically is beautiful. However, safety is one of my biggest concerns, and it's very bad, and we need some type of a traffic study, and we also need, as Stu said, the septic. Perhaps Steer Engineering can look it over for the town. I don't know, but I have seen some almost fatals down there. I mean, people are just coming out, pedestrians, as it's been said, are just coming out everywhere. And whatever can be done should happen. And I wish, Groundswell a lot of success. It's excellent food, and pastries are delicious, and so is the coffee. But it's really bad. It took me three turns of the light to go through the Four Corners one Sunday morning. And because of the parking, couldn't turn on East Road, and it couldn't go down Neck Road. And Neck Road is a town road. East and Main Road are state roads. So that's my side.
Okay, thank you.
Susan, Tiffany wanted to speak again. Will you allow that?
If there's nobody else, you can come back on for a minute.
Okay, there's no one else.
Okay. All right, Tiffany. Yeah.
Thank you. As a the Merchants Association actually a few of the merchants north of the light talked to the town and the police, and they alerted the state that we were interested in a crosswalk. And so the town initiated dealing with the state, and they actually did a study and are in the process of refining that. They have already put up signs on each end of Neck Road saying, look for crossing pedestrians. And then soon, they're scheduled to paint a crosswalk, which I think will be between Gallery at 4 and Tiffany Pay Jewelry. And then that's already scheduled, and I don't know the dates, but that is scheduled. And then after that, they're going to explore putting in sidewalks. So we've been talking to the town and the state, and I don't know what they're doing with the speed limit, but currently it's 30 through town, which, 30 is okay, 25 would be better, but people are really crazy up and down Main Road, especially when they turn off of East Road going north. Also, the stoplight timing has been an issue. I think that people really do speed up trying to get through that. So, I mean, if that's something to be addressed separately, obviously. But there is action with the merchants to have that addressed. And I just wanted to share that because it's headed in the right direction, I think, because it is really, the speeding is a whole nother thing, but pedestrians, we're working on that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, so there's nobody else that wishes to speak, but we do have the letters for the file.
Oh, it looks like there's a Carol.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, Carol.
Am I unmuted?
Yep, you can. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. One of the issues that we had, including in the letter, and mostly I see it daily, is the deliveries. I was wondering if the owners would consider having some other type of delivery instead of the obstruction that happens when Cisco comes and they block that whole side of the ramp.
Carol, I can address that. We are actually working on that. I mean, we're trying to get a different delivery schedule and smaller trucks as well. So it's definitely something we're really aware of because we're not fans of them stopping at the light as well, running parallel with the restaurants.
Right.
So, we are definitely working on that, I assure you, and hopefully we'll have some resolution soon.
Well, thank you for that because it does make sense. There was almost an accident today with a landscaper and an SUV. They had to slam on their brakes so they wouldn't crash into each other because Cisco was delivering. But that's happening daily, David. So I would hope that you would address that.
We 100% are. Yeah, we definitely are we want to rectify that. I mean, some of the people stopping, like, and dropping people off, like we have been seeing a lot of like elderly folks coming in who need ADA help.
I know.
Yeah, so we are kind of saying just pull here at the end of the ramp, but the trucks 100%. We
And
are
I think,
working on that.
the
Definitely.
Cisco truck
Yeah.
is there 2 days a week. Our Baldor truck comes and parks in the back, and they're usually earlier in the day when it's not so busy. I mean, I do see trucks
It's
on
the
main
same-
road parking for deliveries to restaurants that are in the road stopped. And I know on the side of the cafe probably isn't much better, especially at an intersection, but
Yeah, it's the Cisco truck. It's
Definitely.
huge.
It's just so narrow. That
Yeah.
corner is very narrow.
yeah, no, thank you for bringing
Yeah.
that up. Appreciate it.
And thank you.
All right, thank you, Carol.
There is no one else.
Okay. All right, we'll move it along. Then. So I guess my last question is, I just want to get to clarify, even though it's in design review, to look at ingress and egress and traffic and parking and loading and pedestrian safety, are you saying that that doesn't fall under our purview for design review, that goes through zoning? Mike, I guess, I don't know where Mike is, lost track of people. Oh, Mike, there he is.
I'm here.
Yes, I just want clarification that we're not.
Well, as far as the intensity of parking, the number of parking spaces necessary, that's all a zoning matter.
Right.
But
the whole issue is we don't have a site plan. We were never provided a site plan that would show all this. So, yeah, I mean, it has, they submitted the application for the 2 lots, which is the primary entrance. And there's no site plan that shows all that with the parking designated and the ingress and egress and how the flow would go or any loading areas, that kind of thing. And so my question is, it's under design review. Are you telling us that we're not?
No,
Look at that goes to zoning.
No, I'm saying that you could look at that and request a site plan if you want one. That's something that can be requested as to the parking issues, but as far as the number of parking spaces necessary and
Right.
those kind of issues, that's a zoning matter. That's not a planning board matter.
Right. The number of parking spaces per building. That's
Correct.
required. So,
And as far as I just want to comment because I know this is, because I've gotten calls on the Rhode Island DEM issue. The regulatory body that monitors DEM compliance is Rhode Island DEM. The town has very little control over what happens. Now, of course, if it, and I'm not wishing this on these gentlemen, if the septic system were to overflow and wherever it might be located, then that's a health and safety issue that we would be getting involved in. But as far as approving or determining whether it's sufficient or not, that's not our purview. That we don't have any regulatory control over that whatsoever. And so that's, and I think the zoning officer, excuse me, the planning department and I will be looking at the permit that was issued. I'm learning for the first time tonight, there is a water flow meter there. I'm sure they have to submit reports on a quarterly basis, probably to somebody, or how much water is being used. So we can all check that out. But as far as determining whether that septic system is adequate for what the use is, that's all out of our hands. That's between the Ron DM and the Department of Health. But however, we will be looking at the intensity of the use based upon the number of tables that these gentlemen will have, both in and outside.
Right.
Mike, how do you count tables? If somebody places an order to go online, comes in and picks up their order, picks it up and chooses to sit down outside at a table that's available in an open lawn, is that considered seating for the restaurant?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, which I can't give you an answer to tonight.
Okay.
Now, can I just clarify one thing? You were talking, somebody mentioned site plan review. I don't think we're here for a site plan review. The only thing we're subject to is a design review.
Right.
The way I look at it. Is that correct?
Yes, it's Article 20, Section 5B, design review. It's item number 2.
Yeah, well, Section 3B says defines Section 3A defines site plan review, and this doesn't apply in this case.
We're not doing, no, we're doing design review.
Right, the design review.
5B.
Okay.
It's 5B.
Richard, one of the requirements on the application checklist was for a site plan review of the site plan itself. And that, I believe, will help the next phase that you're going to have to go through by having the two parcels. I went down there last night with my packet, and using an architectural plan was not helpful, to see the topography and the rest of the buildings. So really, you need the two parcels, and it will help in the long run. It should have been required.
See, I'm really torn, because if we don't work this through, who would it be left to? I mean, zoning only looks at the number of spaces. They don't consider a design layout. I don't know how this goes, because I know just getting in and out of the spaces are what's difficult, to make sure there's enough egress. I don't know if it should be one way in and one way out. I mean, I don't know if that's the things that the planning board should be looking at. And I don't know even if we could look at, grant them, like approve the design things that they've looked at to that point, but then also request that they come back with a site plan that shows very clearly the layout for traffic and ingress.
Yeah. I think that's a realistic option of those things that you can feel comfortable approving tonight. Yes, if you need more information regarding parking and egress and the travel of vehicles on and off their lot, that's something that we could ask for more information on, and so approve part of it, and then have them come back for that site plan.
I mean, that's my inclination, because if we don't look at it, I don't know who would, if they just look strictly at the number of parking spaces. And I'm concerned. I went down there my anecdote is I went down there on a Sunday morning in the rain, Memorial weekend. And as I tried to pull in, there was one car backing out of a parking space, another car trying to leave the lot. And I had to back up blindly back onto Neck Road to allow them to get out, because they weren't going to budge and let me in, and they didn't have any way to maneuver. So I'm very concerned just about how people get in and out. And the more I think about this, it seems like this is a commercial parking lot, like a public parking lot or a public space. And I don't know what the rules are, the standards are for design for that kind of thing. But this isn't more just a parking space for an individual building. This is like a public parking lot. And so I don't know if there's other considerations, because this is something that just kind of keeps coming up and keep cropping up. And I know we can only address the two lots of these applicants, but if that's the primary entrance and exit to the place, it seems like this might be our opportunity to do that. So
I would ask the board to focus on the issues that we have talked about already. That is,
it's safety.
No, I understand that, but we're here tonight for a design review of the brick patio, the split rail fence, the ramp for the ADA access and the landing, and the AC condenser unit, and the double doors, the sign and the skylights.
Right.
So we need a decision on those items, I think.
Right. Well, that's what we were saying. If we gave you a decision on those items,
right,
but then we asked for additional information to kind of iron out the parking issues, the layout and all that for safety, because you can see that safety is an issue, and does fall under our purview.
I don't know if it does. I would question
Sue,
that.
can I ask a question, Sue? So how does that work when it's like, I mean, we have the lion's share, since we own the two buildings, of the parking in Four Corners. So, I mean, how does that work? I couldn't even wrap my head around it. And I guess it's for a larger discussion, and I'm all about safety.
Yeah.
But like, since we share with Tiffany and Sales and Four Corners Grill Park's back there, Cottage, like, we all share, like they're parking in ours, we're parking in theirs, and I don't have a problem with that. I just don't know how you do that unless you're like parking for groundswell only, and nobody pays attention to that anyway. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you that the mouth coming in off the neck is an issue, but it's kind of, it's always been that way, as you know, and maybe now is the time to really critically look at that.
Right.
I'm just curious, like, how do you do that? Like, how do you wrap your head around it? Because we work in a lot of cities, and it seems so complicated here, because even the artists across the street, if they have an event, they're parking in our lot, and we're totally fine with it. Like, I don't care, so I think I get it.
The thing is, there is no shared parking down there. Everybody has always shared the parking.
Yeah, exactly.
There is no formal
Correct.
shared parking. So, basically, I think you would be responsible for your 2 lots.
Okay.
If the whole group wanted to go in and figure out the rest of the lots, I guess, we could do that, but since you have the application, we basically would be responsible to look at your 2 lots to figure out, one, if, it falls under zoning if you have the number of spaces, but if you have a good layout, because I think that's the key, that's like the crux of it all is looking out of how to get in and out there, and that congestion right there it makes it even tighter now how the parking is set up, and because once you get into the lot, it just keeps going, and it's not really an issue for the people that park further down. So
it's a finite space. It's not, there isn't flexibility to move it that,
I
unfortunately,
know.
as you know, so.
I know. I mean, it's not something I look forward to undertaking, but I just feel like this is an opportunity for us to do it. And as a planning board, perhaps we should, because if we don't, I don't know whose purview it would fall under to do it.
I mean, I would ask if you could look at the items we're asking for so that we can just kind of stabilize our business, and then that could certainly run parallel. I mean, I'm not our attorney, we have him, but I'm just looking at it from like my perspective is like, we want to run the best business we can for your town. And I feel like we're doing it. And I get all those other things that are coming with it. But I think it's a larger, longer discussion to there's no quick fix for it. There's not going to be a quick fix. I think you need better walks. You certainly need, Tiffany's point, the speed bumps. I mean, last summer, we weren't even open. I witnessed 3 accidents where people were getting T-boned. We weren't even open and they were just racing through that light. So, it's kind of an ongoing thing. And so I just, that's all. I get it. I totally, and we want to be there. We're in it. We want, we invested millions and bought a house here. We want to figure it out too. So,
I mean, I think that's what I want to do is figure out how to make it work for you as well as the neighbors in the area that are finding that they are having a lot of difficulty just maneuvering, past your intersection. So,
I mean, I see the muttering under their breath at the light sometimes with people. So I get it. I totally, we just
want to go the other way.
I know,
Want to get people going to the north and not.
We're happy to run parallel and do our due dil on that, but I would really love if we could get some, even just progress on a patio or some, those kind of things so we can make it look better.
Yeah, I think the applicants have a right to have a determination of the application that's before them. And we can certainly invite them to come back. Like I said, we're going to be meeting with the building official and their lawyer within probably the next week to talk to some of these other issues. And it sounds like these gentlemen are not adverse to coming back to discuss parking issues once we kind of do it. So that's,
Yeah, and Mike, we're not going anywhere. We're committed. We have like 30 employees.
So Susan, Susan, if I could make a quick comment. I completely agree that the parking is a bigger issue than just the parking behind your 2 buildings. There is shared parking throughout the whole of the Four Corners area, and it's been controversial. It's raised issues. I think if you really want to tackle that issue, you have to tackle it looking at the entirety of the community and not just at groundswell. The second point I'd like to make is we need sidewalks for pedestrian safety, not just at your facility, and you'll have a very nice new brick sidewalk, but we need sidewalks in other areas so that pedestrians can be safe. And we need public restroom facilities so that your business isn't getting all of the attention and Gray's Ice Cream isn't getting all of the attention. So there are bigger issues to be tackled at Four Corners. Those issues are manageable and they can be tackled, and there are no lack of numbers of communities in New England, historic, rural, communities that are full of the kind of businesses that we have at Four Corners that have solved those problems. But we haven't solved those problems in Tiverton because no one has actually tried to look at the big picture or has put together a group. Tiffany Pay made some really good points, and her association of merchants is looking at a lot of these issues that need to be tackled. But this is a planning activity that Tiverton has never really undertaken. We've always tried to do things in a piecemeal fashion, and it's never really worked out. So I certainly agree that we should go ahead and see if we can approve the amenities, the improvements that we've been discussing tonight, primarily at 3879 Main Road, so that at least that is behind us. Then, Susan, I would almost suggest, because we're the planning board,
Right.
and if we don't do it, who else will, that maybe we put a task group together, or we begin to put on our agenda discussion of Four Corners and some of these other issues that need to be addressed, not just with respect to one business, but with respect to the entire historic village community.
I mean, I think ideally that's great, but to start trying to tackle every business's parking down there at whose expense, and to enforce them to have to do certain things or upgrade or improve, I think is difficult. I mean, I'm definitely, I mean, I'm willing to go forward with the things that they've done so far, but I really think it's important that we, in the short term, work on their two lots for parking, because they're the changes, and then, you know, maybe over time we can do the others. But I think it's been brought out that this is a big issue right now, and they have the entrance to that back lot. So I think the onus unfortunately does fall on them.
Well,
that's where I'm at with it. And if we don't do it, nobody else is. So
I would be prepared then to make a motion to approve the changes, the design changes that Melissa walked us through at the very beginning of this agenda item. And then maybe we can have a second motion that would request that they come back to us at some point in time with a site plan that addresses some of the parking issues that neighbors have raised. Would that be agreeable to you, Susan?
well, yeah, I mean, I would say the short term, 3 months. I'd just like Jennifer to refresh us just all those items so they go into the record, all the things that we're approving.
Sure. I will list the items. So 14-foot by 30-foot brick patio, the split rail fence, various plantings, ADA wood ramp, the AC condensing unit, the replacement of the west entry double doors, the groundswell grab and go sign, and the 3 new skylights. That's it.
Okay.
So I would make a motion to approve all of those items.
Okay. Is there a second?
I would second that.
Okay. Okay. So is there any further discussion? And that would be with the understanding that we'll start to look at the parking and the layout of their lots, right? The egress and circulation and traffic patterns for that. Okay, I have to do a audible vote. So Stu?
Yes.
Let's see, Rosemary?
Abstain.
Well, we have to vote yes or no. We're part of a quorum. There's no abstention.
Well, Mr. Marcello, I would like to just to state a concern that I have, and that's the entrance to this parcel. Mr. Daddario said that the driveway was a patio was put over the driveway. Yes, it was a driveway, but that was the entrance to these parcels, the shared parking. The shared parking access to the north is a very big concern to me because it's quite narrow. And I would like to see, the site plan go along. If the site plan comes in, I'll vote yes.
So that's a no.
That's a no. That's gonna be according to as a no.
Okay. Sorry. Oh, Christine,
Yes.
Janice. Janice?
Yes.
Okay, that's yes. And I'm a yes. So where are we at with this then? We have 4 yeses and 1 no.
Proof 4-1.
Okay, so I guess what we'd like to see happen here is a complete site plan of those 2 lots. And, it'd be things with, where the parking is for your buildings, the ingress and egress to show that there's enough room, turning radius, that kind of thing, something that would be that the engineer could look at and go, yeah, that meets the standards. It has to meet the standards for parking.
I think those are zoning issues that the building inspector is going to have to take up with the solicitor and clients.
We'll get back. We'll look into this when we have the meeting. We'll certainly have the town planner involved, and we'll give her this board a report back.
Okay.
So what we're going to do.
Yes, that makes sense.
Okay. All right.
Well, thank you very much, everyone.
Oh, yeah, sorry, 1 second. Sorry, John has a question.
I'm just curious, just in general, about being able to open this grab and go space. So we have approval on the design elements, yes. Yeah. If all of the building work is in compliance with zoning regulations, and if we have the required parking at that building for the use that we're proposing, is there anything that will keep us from being able to open potentially before this larger issue is resolved?
No, you have to comply with all your next step is now to make sure you get all the proper permits from the building official and the zoning official.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just want to mention one thing, just to let you know that later on our agenda, we'll be appointing a TRC to look at groundswell as well. We mentioned about the waived items. So that'll be at the end of the agenda, but I'll let you know, and then we'll have a separate meeting and maybe we can work out the parking and the egress at that point too.
It sounds like a plan. Thank you.
Right, yeah. And we're going to get on the parking. We'll get right on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
I appreciate it.
board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So actually, what I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to do the
We just closed it.
item 2, Brayton Solar. Well, actually, I can do that at the end. Okay, they've waited a long time. All right, the next item is,
Susan,
who's that?
I'd like to raise the possible issue of moving our agenda items out of order to deal with votes, so that we still have a quorum when we need to take a vote. And perhaps we could begin that process very quickly and very easily by simply voting on appointing an ad hoc technical review committee for groundswell and get that item dealt with. Because I can tell you right now, I'm not going to be here at 11 o'clock tonight. I think that's fair.
We have a pending application. So we have to give fairness to the applicants. So we started an hour late, and we took something out of order already. So we have lawyers here for the other applicants. So let's if it's okay with the board, I'd like to just accommodate them. Mr. Thayer sent us a inquiry through the question and answer on this thing. So let's hear that, and we can deal with these other issues.
Yeah, we'll try and keep.
We started late. This is not the applicant's fault. We're the ones who started late.
Right. Okay, so the next item will be Robert Lance, right? Yeah. which is the preliminary and development plan review, public hearing, Billswood sales, major land development applications to build 20,000 square foot building on a 6-acre parcel. Plat 109, lot 32, 33, 34, and 35, Progress Way, Tiverton Business Park, Industrial and Planning Development Park Overlay Districts, review and possible vote. Time clock of 90 days is July 16, 2021. So whoever's here for that application, you can introduce yourself for the record.
Adam,
Here on behalf of Bill Sales, Robert Lance.
Oh, Adam, okay.
Bob is here as well as Tom, the engineer.
Bob? Did you say Bob? Oh, Bob. Bob, what's your last name? Sorry.
Robert Lance.
Oh, yeah, all right. Lance, sorry. Lance. And who's here for Principe?
Tom
Principe Engineering.
Okay. Sorry. The delights of Zoom to try and keep track of stuff. Sorry, I apologize again for the delay in all this. So you're here for a preliminary plan and design review. So why don't you go ahead, whoever wants to start the presentation, will be fine.
My client and Tom have submitted, I believe, everything that has been asked for from the town at this point in time. I believe that all the revisions to the plan and the documents were all made. So unless the board has any specific comments, we're prepared to let the documents speak for themselves.
Okay. I don't know, does the engineer want to go through anything, or do you feel you're ready for questions?
Well, again, I mean, we've been at this for at least 2 years, back and forth. We've been to this board several times. We've been to the water board, conservation. We've got our DEM permit in hand for our RIPD's permitting. So all the stormwater has been reviewed. We went through a couple of rounds with Steer engineering comments. So again, if the board has any more specific comments, I know we received a few additional grammatical comments on the certificate of completion. Also a few grammatical comments from Steer in the latest submission, which we'll take under advisement. So again, I maybe just bring it to the board for any specific comments.
I guess, yeah, Dan Murphy, I guess, sorry, took us so long to get to you tonight, but yeah, what you had, I don't know, you had questions or something to Fire Marshal?
I had questions.
Did you have questions?
Well,
The water and propane tanks.
Well, I sent you a letter, I think it was back in December, approving the propane tanks and technically approving the initial water line. I did speak to North Tiverton Fire District, which is the water department. I guess it was inadvertently, they did not approve the water lines that Mr. Principe and I agreed upon.
He doesn't have his camera on, that's why I can see him.
All right. Since then, Mr. Principe, myself, and Mr. Willett from the water department has come to an agreement and a new design of the water line and the fire hydrant, and that was forwarded to Jennifer this afternoon with a revision date of 6/1 of 2021. Also in that docket was an approval letter from Mr. Willett from the water department and approval from me for the new water line. In regards to the building, and if it needs sprinkler system or what have you, that will be done later during the plan review phase. But in regards to the propane tank and the water line, you do have the 2 approval letters.
Okay, but Jennifer, if you
Yes,
today,
so
than what we have on our plans.
So what Dan had told me earlier this afternoon was that the plans that be submitted to you are different than the ones that Dan had seen. That's correct, Dan, Tom?
So again, just to recap, we made a preliminary plan submission. During that submission, Lieutenant Dan Murphy made another review, but prior to that submission, we had some correspondence with Lieutenant and North Tiverton Water to try to get them both on the same page. And I think there was some confusion on what the lieutenant wanted and what North Tiverton wanted. So again, what was submitted for preliminary was modified based on what Lieutenant Dan just said recently. There was correspondence with myself, Lieutenant Dan, and North Tiverton Water after the submission to further clarify. There was a revision that was put out within the last week to Lieutenant Dan and also North Tiverton Water. So that latest revision that Lieutenant Dan and North Tiverton Water just approved has not been submitted. It was submitted for review for Lieutenant and North Tiverton Water. So as part of these revisions, again, we have a couple of grammatical revisions for the certificate of completeness. Steer had a few minor comments, and we're going to put together a revised set for preliminary. So we would hope the board would be amenable to making conditions for this submission, and then we would produce a final revised set.
So Tom, you're saying that, okay, on master plan, you had the water line coming off the cul-de-sac, right? And now the plan we have, it's coming off the water line easement. So you're saying it's not that either?
That was the confusion because both myself and Lieutenant Dan had preferred that option. We accepted that option, and there was initial contact with North Tiverton Water. But after North Tiverton Water did a final review, they didn't approve of that tap off of that water main to the north. They would prefer it come off a Progress Road. So there was further correspondence after the submission with both myself, Lieutenant Dan, and North Tiverton Water.
And do you have that you could share on the screen?
Absolutely, yeah. If I have permission to share.
So also, Tom, that plan that you sent, the approved plan that you sent myself and Bob Willett from North Tiverton, I did forward that to Jen this afternoon.
Oh, okay.
So the planning board does have a copy of that. I put it as part of my approval package that I sent this afternoon.
Yeah, we haven't seen it though, so.
Yeah, that's my fault. I didn't get this to Jen until like 2 o'clock this afternoon.
So, Madam Chair, this is a zoomed in version. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Confirming. So this was the change. This is our latest plan set that Lieutenant sent over. And I can just explain briefly, again, on your plans that we submitted, we were tapping in this water main off the north side itself.
Right.
But now the latest revised plan that we all signed off on, meaning Lieutenant, North Tiverton Water, and myself, we are coming off of this cul-de-sac. There's an existing gate valve, 8-inch ductile iron gate valve here, right at the cul-de-sac that we're going to extend through the driveway. And that will be connected to one fire hydrant located right off of this catch basin. And then the service line for the building, the 1-inch diameter service line, is actually going to come off of this water main that we extend up into the driveway. And what the lieutenant was saying is, as part of the building permit application, once we're done with planning board and we file for the building permit, he'll do a review of the building to see if sprinklers are required. We don't know at this time. We don't believe so, but Lieutenant Dan will do an official code review. And if sprinklers are required, I spoke to North Tiverton Water. He's also said that we would just come off of this water main extension with our 6-inch sprinkler line, because you can't tie in the domestic and the fire. But the North Tiverton Water confirmed that that was a very simple approach if that's necessary during the building permit application process, which comes after planning.
Okay. So before, Dan, you'd asked about a loop system. So I assume this is not a loop system anymore.
No, unfortunately, it's not. Again, because there's with the water line issue with North Tiverton. And there is also, this is not the only project that we've had to eliminate a loop system. We do have another one that's just down the street that, again, working with Mr. Principe as the engineer, the builder, North Tiverton Water, we're kind of coming, agreeing, still provide the safety and the hydrants for the fire department, but also getting, the applicant and then appeasing North Tiverton Water. So it's kind of a give and take on all sides.
Okay. And where are the propane tanks? Are they further down?
It's CUC 272. It's right in the back, right there.
Oh, so they're staying put.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, to my knowledge, the propane tanks have not moved the entire time. And Sue, I think it was this December 10th. I don't quote me on the letter date, but you received that approval letter prior.
Okay. I guess we'll just have to go through the record. Yeah, make sure we have all that. So yeah, I guess Jennifer, we just need to see I guess his letter and the water department's letter. We'll just need those.
Jennifer, did you get the water department letter?
Yes, I did today, this afternoon.
Okay.
So again, I want to apologize. That's my fault. I didn't get it to Jen until, like I said, 2:30 this afternoon.
All right. We'll just make sure everybody on the board gets it. So the other thing I wanted to ask if you could do, because I think we'll need to get a copy of these plans too before we approve it, is I know like Advantage Storage, when we did that one, we had them do detail of where the propane tanks were, like if it's on a concrete, if it's bollards or fenced or however you do it. I don't know what actually, Dan, you ended up requiring them to do.
If you look exactly where Mr. Principe is just putting his cursor, you can see there's bollards for vehicle protection.
Not down there. Up.
Yeah, right. Well, no, there. If you follow the arrow up, there's little dots.
Yeah.
But again, Sue, that will also be taken care of during the plan review, site review, when they put the building up for review to us. That all gets done and taken care of at that point. And to be honest, it will not pass final approval if that's not there for protection.
Okay. I just know like when we did Advantage Storage on those tanks, we had them very clearly. You know, remember you had them put a fence around it. I don't remember if you had them do bollards. You had to show that it was mounted on concrete. You just had a bit of.
Yeah, I think they submitted that information, but there's certain things that, depending on the size of the tank, how they need to, and there's a certain NFPA code that they need to follow.
Okay.
Depending on the size of the tank. But to my knowledge, these haven't moved. These haven't changed size. If I'm correct, Mr. Principe?
That's correct, Lieutenant.
So his the initial code review are sitting, and again, that letter was approved. I think I want to say December 10th.
Okay. All right. All right. Did you have any other comments? I won't keep you any later than I have to.
Oh, I'm all set. I'm available till 11 o'clock, but no, I just wanted to make sure that this was all set.
Right, the water line. Okay. All right. That's very helpful. Thank you. Okay. Oh, I guess I want to call on Kelly next. I know like your letter had a lot of comments. I don't know if you would like to address some of those.
Most of them are easy fixes, like Mr. Principe said, either just clarification questions. I'm looking through my letter now. One of the things was for the parking lot itself, whether it be fire trucks or I'm not sure what kind of loading trucks or equipment or whatever, do the turns make the turning radii for large trucks?
Yes.
Whether that be the entry to the driveway to begin with or around the entire building?
Yes, the turning radiuses do provide for emergency vehicles. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Let me just go through it quick. Yeah, I have the same question as Sue, just of if the propane tanks sit on a concrete pad, but that's as easy as, even if it's not a detail, just a call out. Oh, the other thing was the erosion controls. I wasn't sure the intent of providing snow fence along the limit of disturbance. I didn't know if that was intended to be silt fence.
Yes. Yeah, I believe that might be a typo. Yes, not snow fence to prevent any, travel. It's more just prevent erosion control. So it should be silt fence. Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, I think the other question you had, and it's always been mine all along, is the back area that they just said that's for log storage. Did you want that more clearly defined, or I don't know, that's all kind of left. I don't know if some of that was burned out with the fire that was back there. Yeah, I didn't know what your sense was for that, where it says log storage area, just kind of has that area. I assume it's treed now. I didn't know if you had any comments on what should be done with that.
that a question for me?
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I think
Yeah, I was more so just wondering, in terms of making that a log storage area, what site preparation needs to be done first? I mean, I just didn't know what it looked like to begin with. So I didn't know if it was clearing and grubbing or just, I wasn't sure what was there to begin with. I see the label that says existing tree line, so I wasn't sure if it was trees or more so just open land.
Yeah, again, it's not as defined. Again, the client will have some storage here in the back here. That's why we have the parking lot accessible, you know, on all four sides, not only for the emergency vehicles, but also just for access. Again, the nature of the business is, you know, kiln drying and storing of logs. Again, as the business grows, he might need more area, but again, right now, there's no intent to clear cut this whole area. That's something we went over with the DEM. You know, he's not going to be stripping out all this material and bringing in gravel and making an impervious surface as well, because that was some of the drainage questions that we went over with the DEM. So again, you know, that's something that's going to fluctuate with the business itself, but we're not intending on clear cutting or, you know, making this entire area, you know, all log storage itself. So, and I can't speak on the fire. I know it was a pretty big fire a few weeks ago. Maybe the client Bob's on the other line, maybe he can speak on that. I'm not sure, but the intent is not to clear cut and grub and strip out all of that material.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so when you bring it back to us with, when we get that plan, if you can just finish up all those comments that she had for call outs and other items.
Yep. Yep.
Copy to approve.
Yes.
I guess the only other question I really had was, with the way you have all the storm, you know, water along the road, and then you have the separate landscaping plan.
Mhm.
I want to know how, if because they aren't superimposed over each other, does
Yep.
it work? Does it work the way the landscaping is designed? Is it going to work with like I guess how the stormwater is?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we worked with the landscape architect, and I'll pull those up right now just for the board. I think they were submitted. So again, this is the entire drainage area here. So Charles Earl did a pretty nice kind of rendering on, you know, what the landscape and the streetscape would look like with the detention pond here. So here's what this would look like coming from the rear portion of the building itself. On this shot, obviously, this is from Progress Road, from the street, looking at the building. And then this first shot is more of an aerial bird's eye view, kind of looking in the northeasterly direction with a detention basin out in front. And then he had a 2D landscape plan that was submitted for the board. So again, he has our current plan. So our base map is in gray underneath, and then he planted everything on top of that. So it works seamlessly with our plan.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Do other people have questions, members of the board? Questions about any of this? I know this has been around a long time. There was all that.
Susan, it's Lieutenant Dan Murphy again.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So in regards to the brush fire that we had back there, in this area, it's usually a lot of the trees are still standing. A lot of it was underbrush and what have you. But after your last meeting, I did meet with Mr. Lance at his log storage place in Portsmouth. And I just want to let you know, it is very neat, very orderly, and very clean. Again, the logs are not going to readily burn on themselves because it's solid, you know, stump, you know, trees. But it was very orderly, very clean, very little bark debris anywhere. He did state that that's how we would keep this facility, but I just want to let you know if there's any concerns with that. I did go over myself, and then I even went over to his wood kiln facility in Portsmouth. And I addressed some concerns that I had with him, and we'll work on with that. But in regards to the log storage, I have no concerns if he keeps it the same way he keeps it in Portsmouth.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Okay. Oh, and the other thing I just wanted to go through was, if nobody has any questions at the moment, was the conditions from the master plan. I just wanted to review those. It was one, it was to merge the 4 lots prior to the final plan. And also, since the town still owns the property, it would have to you'd have to purchase the property before you can merge the lots. and approve the plan. So that would be the next step. I see you have submitted your OWTS permit, and we have the letter for the RIPDs. So stormwater has been all approved.
Yes.
It said the driveway and services are all okay. They've been cleared by Steer Engineering as well. The one thing do we have a landscape? We have a landscape plan. I don't know if we have a landscape maintenance plan. I don't recall.
No, I emailed Adam and said that we usually need legal documents for a landscape maintenance plan and for a stormwater operation and maintenance. I know we have the operation and maintenance report, but we need something that would be recorded.
Right. And some of that is on I think it was on one of the sheet plans, kind of clarified that. And then I don't know if we need to get some kind of easement agreement. Is it North Tiverton Fire Department, whoever owns that easement or whoever has that access easement? Mike, do we need to get some kind of, or if there's a standing easement agreement for that water line? I don't know if we need to record something like that with this.
Is it an easement? It's on our land, isn't we?
No, it's a 35-foot wide easement. And it's on that parcel, but it's the water line, so I just don't know.
It's a utility easement, so that would be between them and the owner.
Right. Do we need to have something like that, or is that just them to deal with?
I will let them deal with it because it's to their benefit. It's their easement.
Okay. All right.
You probably want to call a public, if the public wants to speak.
Right. Well, yeah, I realize I need to open the public
hearing. Yeah, because there are two people in the waiting room.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I can do that. If there's no members of the board that have questions at this time, I can open the public hearing. And if somebody wants to come forward to speak, they can do that.
Okay, so if any of the attendees would like to speak, please raise your hand and we'll let you in. Otherwise,
can Mr. Principe take this down?
Yep.
Thanks.
Do we have to announce that a couple times, Mike?
Just one more time.
If anybody would like to speak, please raise your hand in Zoom. If not, we will go on. Nobody is raising their hand.
Okay. All right, my other question was, I couldn't remember, did we get a curb cut letter from Rick? He signed off on something.
I believe we did.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if we got that master plan. We just have to make sure, we have a letter from him, if that's okay. I think that was it. I think the only other thing we need to then go through is design review. Any comments for that? But I don't know if anybody else has any other technical questions they want to ask on this site plan. No? Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So the other item is the design review for this project. I think you had in your packet. I don't know if you want to put that up on the.
Do you want to? Do you want to show the drawing again, Tom?
Sure. Yeah. Yep.
A quick clarification question. Is Road G and Road F the existing unimproved roads? Are those existing currently?
No, they're paper street.
They're paper street platted. They're not built.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. Nor is the drainage infrastructure. Hence, we had to design our own drainage system on our own lot. So just for clarification, the pre had a whole drainage infrastructure design for this build out, but that was never built.
Okay, and then it is Progress Road and not Progress Way.
That is true.
I know sometimes there's discrepancies between Google is the thing, or I keep finding, I can't tell if it's Tiverton Industrial Park or Tiverton Business Park. I hate to hit you with these little clarification things, but for my own.
Yeah, that changes every week.
I've been told by the planning board that it's Tiverton Business Park.
Well, that's the newest iteration. It's turning into an industrial park. So. Okay. All right. So I don't know if Tom, are you going to do this, or who's going to do the present it kind of as the building for design, the design review?
Yeah. Can you? Yeah, I'm going to pull up the building plans again, and we have our client
All right.
on the other line, the buyer, if you will. Let's see here. If you give me 1 second, I'm just going to pull up the plans for the building itself, and I believe Jennifer had received these plans. Again, it's going to be a steel building, from Priggen Steel and Rentham. They did this again rendering, and again, it's more of a simplistic design because with the nature of the business, there's really no need for a bunch of different types of windows and openings. This kind of services our clients' needs. Again, it's a prefabricated steel structure that gets erected on site. And again, maybe Bob can speak a little bit more about the building itself. Bob, are you there?
Yep, right here.
You want to speak a little bit about the proposed building from Priggen Steel?
It's basically just a wide open building. It has a step in the roof line because there's a mezzanine in the back section of the building where my firewood processors are going to be located. So that's why it's a little bit higher in the back end. But there'll be a door where we can drive our trucks straight through the building. The 4 doors on the side are where the kilns would be sitting outside of the building.
What color do you anticipate?
I'd like to go with a green building and a white roof, just like my building in Portsmouth.
So something like this here with a green siding?
It's very, very similar. Yeah. The pitch on that roof is more. Charles put a little bit more of a pitch on that roof. He resembled the building I have in Portsmouth.
Right. Your proposed pitch is going to be a 1 pitch, so it's fairly flat roof.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, John, that's going to be building the building. He had good point. Where I have my firewood kilns on the side of the building where the 4 doors are. In the winter time, they're going to be set back about 10 feet from the building so I can access them from the door. But with the snow being on the roof, it slides off. It's going to get them buried. So he had a very, very good point by putting a 1 pitch with a gutter, and I won't get I won't get buried by snow.
Good idea. Yep.
Yeah.
You're saying the kilns are all outside the building?
Yeah.
No, you didn't show those on the site plan at all that I can see. I didn't know that. So I was wondering how you were going to do that.
Yeah, that's what those 4 doors were for. They're just they're 30 foot deep and they're 8 foot wide. And they're very, very similar to the siding of the building. The new one that I had just gotten, it's the same type of siding. It's just all stainless steel. So it looks like it's shiny metal. But it's a very clean looking.
What kind of overhead doors are you planning on putting in there?
There'll be overhead doors.
Yep. White?
Yep.
You don't want any windows? It's really disturbing that there's not one window.
Right. I don't have any in Portsmouth, actually. In Portsmouth, we have LED lights inside, which is brighter than outside. But like on a Sunday, if I go in there on a Sunday, I have skylights in there, which I don't know if you can actually put in anymore because of the insulation, the R value of it. But it's plenty bright enough. Yeah, I don't. Like I say, with the LED lights today, they run very, very efficient. I just don't need them.
Right.
And I mean, in that area also, there's a lot of people that walk up through there, and I don't need people poking in there.
Is there like a chimney or are there exhaust chutes? I don't understand the drying part if you have.
On the kiln itself, yeah, there's a vent on it that just vents out.
Okay, it's
it puts out steam, but it doesn't smoke at all.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Will those doors be facing the road or what?
Those 4 doors would be facing east. So no, they would be facing just the 2 big doors. Actually, those the middle picture, the 2 middle doors would be facing the street with the 2 access doors. And then
Yeah.
that one there.
It looks like it's mislabeled on the architect's plan. It looks like it says left elevation. This should be front elevation, actually.
Oh, okay.
It looks like, right, Bob? This is the front elevation here?
That is the front elevation, yes.
Yep. So then this would be the rear elevation to this
Correct.
side. So I think when they drew these plans up, they just had their orientation,
it could be, yeah.
correct. That's all.
Right.
Yep.
What's the other thing too? Is like your site plan. I don't know, picky or what matters, but your site plan where the number of doors you have on each side don't match up with what you're drawing here. And I would just.
Yeah, it looks like it changed. But again, when we put a revised set together, I'll update that because this is when we were talking to Bob. This is what he had wanted here.
Yeah, okay.
Doors here, and it looked like it's slightly changed. So we'll update this.
Right,
yeah, I actually eliminated that middle door.
This one?
Yeah, I did.
And
Okay.
and then the other side, what is that? South side has 4 doors and you only
So
have-
now here's south here. Yep. So you added another smaller door here, but they got closer together. It looks
Right.
like.
Okay. Yeah.
And does the back have any doors?
The back has one that has the 1 18 by 18 door.
Right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, just show them on the site plan.
So we have to update that. That's correct. Yep.
Just make those match up. It's just because I was like, well, maybe it doesn't matter, but it would be better if they matched.
Well, we're putting a revised set together anyway, so it'd be complete. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Okay, my only other thing that I just kind of can't get away from is I was wondering if you would be willing to put some lights on the front of the building, because if nobody is requiring you to do street lights, even at that cul-de-sac. I mean, I don't know how late you plan to stay open, but at 4:30 in the winter, it's dark. You're driving up that road in the dark and to your driveway and to the building, and there's no exterior lights anywhere.
I'll probably definitely put outside lights that shine down, probably on all 4 sides of the building.
Okay, well, if you can show, I mean, because they, should be.
More just security lighting, right, Bob?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But just to be clear, Bob, there's going to be no members of the general public visiting the site.
Right, correct.
This is just storage for your employees.
Right.
No, but I'm thinking like for emergency vehicles, if they ever had to come up there, this thing is like totally in the dark at the end of a dark road.
Well, they have their emergency lights for a reason,
No. I'd like at least a couple of lights on the building. So if you do security lights, I mean, if they're the downward lights.
Well, again, I mean, we can make it a condition, but again, if you remember, we gotta go to the building official for a building permit. He's gonna review it for compliance, and I believe per code I think he's gonna need lighting over the egress doors.
Yeah, right.
So, he's gonna review that for code compliance. And again, the applicant just said that, he's gonna probably put security lighting on here anyway. So, which is probably a good idea.
Oh, I know. I mean, that's part of that's part of our design review, even though there's not, a great deal of design required to this, but that's something that we look at for lighting. And you're not planning on putting anything at the street, like an address or a address sign or the name of your business?
I mean, I could. I mean, if it's allowed, I will definitely do it.
Yeah, there's parameters to put like a sign, the entrance to your building. I'm just thinking,
Sure.
it would be helpful, just for.
Yeah, I would actually kind of like to put a sign, kind of like the one I have at my shop in Portsmouth.
Yeah. Well, yeah, work with Tom because there's requirements.
Okay.
Whatever the limits, what the upper limit is for it.
Yep.
You can just submit that with your last go round of plans. Yeah, because there's just, I don't know if you would fall under the restrictions of it, being limiting, but it would just, we should take a look at it before we finish the process. But I would think you'd need at least, the fire department will find or assign you an address.
Yep.
I think you'd at least want to sign with your business name there. So
Sure.
trucks are trying to find you, they can find you.
Right.
You're at the end of a long driveway at a dead end road, so.
Stu, it's Dan Murphy again.
Yep.
In regards to that address, the town has an ordinance. If the building resident property is more than 100 feet from the street, they're required an address on the building and at the street. So that will be part of the
okay.
Again, review with myself. That gets done, and it's not only for somebody to find the business, but for emergency vehicles to find the building.
Right.
That will get that as a town ordinance.
Right. Okay. All right. All right. So those are my. I guess the other thing, Stu had asked about at Master Plan was the number of truck trips per day. He was asking about, I don't know.
I would respectfully not ask that my client be required to back himself into a corner there with the number of truck trips. I mean, this is at the end of the cul-de-sac in an industrial park, and the whole point of the business here is that he can expand as needed. So I respectfully don't think that is really pertinent to the plan that we're proposing.
I think he was asking that in relation to when the traffic waiver that was granted, I guess, was what you had implied that was for. Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? Concerns,
If there are
issues?
no other questions, we would like to ask that this plan be approved and that the final plan be approved administratively, kind of given how far we are into this project and how many times we have kind of been back before the board to kind of hash everything out there.
Well, respectfully, I would say ask that this applicant come back with, because we didn't receive the plans with the water line changes. We don't have, the planning board hasn't received the letter from the water department, the fire department. We need the landscape plan, management plan. We need the stormwater management plan with the approval. So I think, one more meeting and whatever additional changes you needed, we need a clean set of plans to approve for the final or for the preliminary plan. We can approve it. I think it's just a matter of these cleanup of details, and it doesn't seem like people have a lot of questions that it would be ready to go.
Madam Chair, I mean, with all due respect, given how long this has taken our client and this process in an industrial park, I don't know if the board would be amenable to taking it to a vote to approve it with conditions, so we can avoid those unnecessary steps and additional steps. Even though it's a month, it's been over 2 years since we've started this project. So, again, anything you guys can do to help us facilitate this process would be greatly appreciated.
Well, we approved the master plan in 2 meetings. Most of the time we've spent waiting for plans to be submitted for review. I don't think I'm being unreasonable to ask for a clean set of plans and for the stormwater, the landscape management plan, the letters. That's how we always do it. We want to have everything at once ready. Then you come back with your final plan, and that's one meeting. You have to do the administrative subdivision, and you have to close out your purchase and sale agreement with the town as well.
Yeah, but that's a purchase and sales agreement the town approved almost 3 years ago. And so we were supposed to be on the May meeting. We were pushed to the June meeting without being told. There was a typo on the last decision that was recorded by the plan by the town. When I pointed it out, my client was charged a fee to record the correction by the town. It's little ticky-tack things like this where we listened to the prior meeting regarding the business at Four Corners, where everybody says they want to be sympathetic to the cost and the time of a small business here. But then we feel like, I think I'm speaking on behalf of Tom and Bob, that we have gotten the exact opposite treatment here. with regard to Bob's plan. This is a metal building that's going to house firewood for storage, owned by a local person who employs local residents that has an incredible reputation in the abutting town. So this is not an unknown person. This is not an unknown commodity. This isn't a nuclear power plant being built. All we're asking for is a little bit of assistance to try and get this thing done as soon as humanly possible. I speak with the town one minute. The town wants us to close as soon as humanly possible, but then it's, yeah, but maybe we'll do another meeting. Then it turns into another meeting after that over what are seemingly clerical issues on the plan. And I think, again, I'm not throwing Lieutenant Dan under the bus. I'm just as busy as everybody else, so I don't fault him with the timing of getting some of the stuff over to the town planner, but that's not the fault of my client. And again, Lieutenant Dan, I do not mean to attack you because I am the first person to be sympathetic to that. But
no, and that's why, Adam, that's why I point blank said it's my fault. I didn't get it over to the planning board until 2 o'clock this afternoon, and I accept full responsibility on that. And I did submit the new plan that was approved by myself and the water department and Mr. Principe, and I also submitted the letter from Mr. Willett, and I also submitted the plan. And again, from the get-go, I accept full responsibility of not sending that sooner.
I totally appreciate that. I thank you very much for everything you've done. I know Tom and Bob have spoken highly about working with you. We come to this meeting, and I appreciate what's going on here, but my client was first on the agenda. We were bumped without being notified. We're now here almost more than 3 hours after what time we were supposed to be heard. And we have patiently done everything this board has asked for, and we have supplied everything we have been asked for in a timely manner. And I feel as though zero slack is being cut to Mr. Lance, absolutely zero. And I frankly, I'm struggling to maintain my professionalism at this point. I mean, I haven't heard from anybody else on the planning board that they are against this. So I would respectfully ask the planning board have a vote of all the members to see if anybody has a differing opinion here.
No, I'll put it to the planning board. I mean, what people feel comfortable doing. It's not our normal process. It's not our usual process to do it this way. But I will ask the board how they want to proceed with this. I haven't prepared conditions. I don't know if Jennifer is prepared with findings.
I guess I don't understand why not. Because this has been going on for 3 years. So at a certain point, why not?
This is the first time we've heard the preliminary plan. We heard the master plan for 2 meetings, and we've heard the preliminary plan for 1 meeting.
After we waited 6 months to hear back from the Mr. Marcello's predecessors, after the predecessor on the planning board, the town administrator didn't respond to us for months and months and months. After the town council had to get involved, after I did a closing for John Edwards, who wanted to know why Bill's sales still had not been approved. I mean, it's a certain point, some of the things we've been debating here are literally grammatical changes, not substantive changes to this plan. So all we're asking is to approve it, subject to us making those changes that you have asked. To have it so that Mr. Lance does not have to spend another $1,500 on an attorney to sit through a 3-hour meeting for what ultimately turned out to be non-substantive changes to the plan. Again, I'm not trying to be argumentative here, but I feel like I need to stand up for my client at a certain point.
So for the benefit of the board, and I know Susan knows this, that the state law does allow a planning board to grant preliminary approval subject to conditions and give final approval to the administrative officer, allow the administrative officer to grant final approval and accept the final plans. I would note that the reason why we haven't closed on this property is because the purchase and sale agreement is contingent upon them getting a finally approved plan. And that's one of the reasons why we haven't closed on the property. But again, it's up to the board whether you decide these are technical amendments or not. I have my own opinion, but it's not for me to decide. It's for you to decide. But what Mr. Thayer is asking is not illegal and can be done if the board so chooses.
Can I make a suggestion by way of a compromise? One possibility would be to have the applicant come back at perhaps our next meeting, if the agenda isn't already filled for July for another discussion of preliminary, with the idea that we could do both the preliminary plan approval and final plan approval at the same meeting. But that would require the applicant to get all of the documentation together, because obviously a final plan cannot be conditional. It has to be, everything has to be pretty much wrapped up for us to approve a final plan. But we have on occasion approved a preliminary plan and a final plan at the very same meeting. So that might be a compromise approach. Susan, do you?
Yeah, we have done that in the past. I mean, because basically the final plan will look like the preliminary plan, except it'll be a single lot. So Jennifer can approve the administrative subdivision in between. We wouldn't record until there's a transfer of, well, and the final plan has to show, I would assume, him as the owner of the lots. Correct, Mike? I mean, for him to record, it couldn't show the town would still own the lot.
Yeah, it would reflect the ownership of the corporation, right?
Right. So you'd have to show, you could do an administrative subdivision. You could purchase the property so that the final plan reflected a single lot and him as the owner of the lot. If you have all these items that we were requesting for a preliminary plan, we could do the preliminary plan, the administrative subdivision would be done, and we could approve the final plan. If we could do that in one meeting, yes. If you could get all that.
I think that would sound probably good. Mike, we have done liquor license transfers in the past, like with some of the restaurants in Newport. What we've done is we'll have the liquor license transfer approved, subject to closing, as lots of times those hearings had to happen prior. Like, it's kind of like here, it's a chicken and the egg. You can't have the license approval until the closing, but you can't have the closing until the license approval. If we could have that approved and the subdivision plan maybe approved, subject to closing, and basically held in escrow by, your office, my office, whatever we want to do. And then as part of the whole closing, we're recording that prior to the deed and everything else. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. So
that's we could certainly do that if the board so approves. So it's up to the board.
It's a major land development. This should be done by the planning board, not by. This is something that has to be approved and recorded by the planning board. I mean, you can't just have you guys go off and do this stuff.
Well, it would be approved by the administrative officer, who is an official of the town. But I mean, again, that's your choice. I know this has not been done, but I mean,
no, she can do the administrative subdivision, but our subdivision rules require the final plan to be approved by the planning board. So
I agree with Susan on that.
And I mean, if you can get all that done that quickly, then more power to you. And we would do it. We would be willing to do it in a single meeting. For the preliminary plan, have it all done, and the final plan would be reflective that it's a single lot and he's the owner. And the administrative subdivision can be done by Jennifer in between. And and then you have to do the purchase and sale with the town. You have to close with the town. You can get that done by July 13th. We can do it all then. That's our next meeting.
Yeah, so maybe, Mike, one thing we could do maybe is, I don't know what the July meeting date is, but maybe we even could have the closing that day, the documents just held in escrow.
Yeah, we could do that.
Assuming everything's approved that night, we could record the following morning.
Yeah, that's fine.
Do that?
Yeah, we can talk about that. That's fine.
Okay. Tom, does that sound doable on your end?
So just let me recap. So are we trying to get on the agenda for July to do both preliminary and final, but at that time, we're going to need the administrative subdivision approved prior to that and close?
Well,
is that
right? The subdivision would be done by Jennifer before the final plan. I mean, you just have to have the final plan reflective that it's a single lot now and that he's the owner. So you have to submit an administrative subdivision to her so that she can merge.
So were we authorized to submit an administrative subdivision, say this week or next week?
Yep.
Just to merge the lots?
Jennifer can do that.
So we can do that concurrently while this is going on.
I can talk to Chris.
You can do administrative subdivision anytime, right? It's just
well, yeah, but it's owned by the town. I think that's what he's.
That's a problem.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. If we can get that done and get it approved and almost just hold it in escrow.
We'll hold. We can hold that. We can hold it, Adam.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we just wouldn't record until the transfer what
Yeah, so if we were heard, the meeting
No,
was
it
July,
would-
we could do the, if we're approved, we could just record everything and disperse the funds.
Right, it would, if it's the buyer who has the obligation to record, not the seller, so they can record anytime they want.
Great, yeah, that's fine.
Right. So, I mean, I'm willing to accommodate you to that point. And that way, you know, you get all the, you know, the final clean plan to us. You get the management plans that we need. And
Do you want me to call the next plan a preliminary dash final? That's usually what I typically do.
no,
No.
you have to submit this one, a preliminary plan. Then you need to submit a final plan. The two separate plans, yeah.
And does Adam need to submit a separate application with that for final, right?
Yeah, and it'll look almost the same. It's just, you know, you'll make it a single lot. And the owners will be Mr. Lance versus the town.
Okay.
And with all the changes that we discussed.
And Tom, that's actually gonna be Bob's LLC, which I'll get you the information for.
Okay.
We
All right, thanks.
take time.
Okay.
So if you have questions, I guess, Adam, you could talk to Mike, or Tom, you could talk to Jennifer and just try and get all this worked out. And, you know, we will accommodate you on July 13th would be our next meeting.
Okay. Stu mentioned something about if there's availability. So are we getting bumped to the end of the list, or just because we're getting carried over? Do we get, you know?
No, we can put you, we'll put you on the agenda. I'll try to get you on first.
Yeah, in similar situations like this, we usually try and prioritize.
It should be pretty straightforward, I would think.
Yeah, I think it'll be straightforward. It's just cleaning everything up and,
Sure.
you know, doing all the final approvals and making sure we have everything so the file's complete. So when we're done, we're done. All right.
Do you have to continue the public hearing, or is it over?
Yeah, no, because we'll have the plans again, the preliminary plans again. So just, I'm going to keep the public hearing open.
Okay.
If there's any final questions or anything, you know, it'll still be there. So I guess, do we need a motion then to continue the public hearing to July 13?
So moved.
Okay, 13. Okay, let's not do that. Is there a second on that motion? Did somebody say something? Janice, is that you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion to continue this to the July 13th, our next meeting. So roll call, Stu?
Yes.
Rosemary?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
Janice?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay. All right. All right. Good luck. Light a fire under the.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
All right. Sorry.
Thank you.
Bye.
Timing tonight. Okay. Okay, moving right along. This will go faster. Next item is Harold and Elsie Brayton, estate of Elsie Brayton. I need to read this because it was an advertised public, right? What is this? Yeah, advertised public hearing, so I have to open this meeting. This is a preliminary development plan review public hearing. Brayton Road Solar, large ground array, major land development application to build across 3 parcels, 101.4 acres, plat 503, lot 103, plat 505, lots 101 and 102, 390, 394, and 446 Brayton Road. R80 zoning district, review and possible vote. Time clock of 90 days to July 8th, 2021. So I will open the public hearing. And they had requested, they sent in a letter to request that this item be continued after, I think you guys all got the TRC notes that there was some revisions that needed to be done. I guess they weren't complete yet. I think the only thing is our next meeting is July 13th. Their time clock is July 8th. So the lawyer, when he was on earlier, did request that this be extended to the next meeting. I don't know if we can get something in writing from them requesting the extension of the time clock.
Yes, I'll ask him for an official
Right.
extension request, yes.
Okay, yeah, I mean, maybe they want it for 60 days. I don't know if they want it longer, but yeah. Or actually, they asked for it to the next meeting, didn't they? So I guess that's what we have to do, and we'll probably have to extend it again after that. So if everybody's clear on that, we'll go ahead and get that done and then continue this public hearing to July 13. I have a motion.
Motion to extend to the next meeting.
Okay, and is there a second?
Second.
Second. Yes. Well, I forgot to ask if there's anybody here for it. Okay, so roll call. Stu?
Yes.
Rosemary?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
Janice?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay. Okay. All right. Dan, did you have something else? You're still here. I think. Sorry, what? Did you have something? Did you have something else that you wanted from us tonight? Are you okay?
Yep.
All right, thanks very much. All right, administrative officer report for March, April, May. You have that in your packet. The book.
I finally finished it.
I know. You
So
did it well.
can we please take this item out of order and go to the appointment of the ad hoc technical review committee?
Yes, we can do that. I don't mind. Okay. All right, we'll come back to that. So the appointment of the ad hoc review committee for 38 discussion and possible vote, 3883 and 3879 Main Road groundswell. Jennifer.
Yes, who wants to be on the ad hoc committee? We probably want the police chief there, I imagine, and DPW, Rick, probably John Hoyle. And then I would think, and then whoever wants to be on the planning board.
Volunteers?
I will be.
Oh, Christine, perfect. Okay. And I'll do it, I guess, if nobody else wants to, just so we have 2 representatives. Okay. Okay. So I guess, do we need to vote on that?
Yes.
Okay. So is there a motion to appoint Christine Shea and myself, Susan Gill, to the TRC for groundswell?
And with the other members mentioned as well.
Oh, right. Police department, police chief, building official, and DPW.
Or their designees, right?
Right, or designees, and then it'll be chaired by Jennifer, the AO. Okay. All right, is there a motion? Somebody gonna make that motion?
Motion to approve.
All right. And is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion approved. All right, roll call. Stu?
Yes.
Rosemary?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
Janice?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay.
Could I know that people want to go. I just want to make one comment on this ad hoc technical review. It would really be helpful if the committee established a standing ad hoc technical review committee, because we ran into this problem. There was a waiver granted, but then we had to wait another 2 weeks before we had this meeting. So, the regulations and the ordinance clearly indicate that there would be a ad hoc committee. And I think it would be helpful to, I think from my perspective and the planning department's perspective, if we had a standing ad hoc committee, so we didn't have to wait till the next meeting to appoint these as we go along.
Right. All right, I think we can think about this and
Yeah,
bring it up.
just for the next meeting, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, so ad hoc for 2139 Main Road lobster storage. Lobster.
Yes, so I can mention about, well, did you vote yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
I'm sorry, it's getting late.
Yeah.
So lobster storage is the building that is across the street from the Black Goose. Do you know the one on the still?
Stilts.
Yes, so they have submitted a plan for design review, and we should appoint a TRC because they should have a TRC before they come to the planning board. So I'm just asking that you appoint a TRC for that.
Jennifer, will that be on the next planning board agenda?
I would think so. Hopefully we would have the TRC before then. I do have plans. I do have the plans, so we can I can hand them out before the TRC.
It would be helpful. I mean, having sat
Yes.
on a TRC, to have plans a few more days than it's been going on. Yeah.
Yes, then Brayton, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Who's interested in the building on stilts?
I'd be really interested, but they're our next door neighbors, so I don't know if that's a conflict of interest or not.
It's just going to be storage, Jennifer?
Is she in a butter?
Are you in a butter? Yeah, would you be in a butter? Yeah.
I'm literally right
that would
across.
yeah, you would have to recuse yourself.
She's a direct of butter.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, then you have to recuse. Okay. I'll go on it.
I'll go on it too.
Okay. And who else would you like, Jennifer, on it?
Well, definitely John.
Building official. And Rick?
Yeah.
Rick. Should we have, I don't know if it makes sense to have, no, that's not really technical. I was thinking if there was somebody from like Harbor or Conservation or something, but I don't think that's really a TRC person, is it?
It's strictly storage. There's no anything with fire in it.
I believe it's strictly storage, yes.
We had a petition quite a while ago for a hotel.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so I guess if that's all, if you can think of anybody else. So that's myself, Rosemary, building official, DPW, and you. Can you think of anybody else that should be?
Yeah, maybe you want to do the police chief for traffic, but I don't know how much traffic would really be involved in this.
Right. Okay. I don't know. Okay, so let's go with this five here. Because we can always get, maybe say, input from somebody else at the meeting if we feel like we need it. We don't really know yet.
That's right. You can just appoint people, but then other staff people can attend.
Okay. All right. So do we have a motion to, I guess it would be appointing Rosemary and myself to the TRC for the lobster storage. Have a motion?
Well, along with the other.
Oh, along with the others, yeah. Building official, DPW, and Jennifer as the chair. Anybody want to make a motion?
So moved.
Is that Rosemary? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Second?
Come on, Stu.
I'll second.
Okay, Janice. Okay. So we'll go ahead and do the vote. Stu? I think we lost Stu.
He's asleep.
I know. Stu, say yeah. Stu, you want to vote for the TRC?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Rosemary?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
And Janice?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay. Okay. All right, last couple items. Approval of the I don't know if you wanted to go back to the AO report. I don't know if anybody had any comments or questions on the AO report. Okay, pretty well self-explanatory. Okay, so going along to the approval of the May 4th minutes.
I have to say, Capri did a great job for not even being at the meeting. So that was good.
She's clairvoyant.
That's pretty good.
Let's track them. All right, So there's no, let me find the moment. So, okay. So if there's no amendments to edits, we have a motion to approve the May 4th minutes.
I have a correction.
Oh, all right. Go ahead.
So on page 3, in the 6th paragraph, on page 3, it says, Ms. Siciliano made a motion to take the agenda out of order. That should actually read, Ms. Siciliano suggested taking the agenda out of order.
Oh.
Because only members of the planning board can make a motion. And a motion was never made.
Right. Yeah, because there was no vote.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So is there a motion to approve the minutes as amended? I'll make that motion to approve the minutes as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
So under discussion on
Yep.
this agenda item, I'd like to inquire about the minutes for the April 13 meeting.
Right. Yeah, we don't have those.
They are in progress. I was working on them today.
Okay.
I've been
You'll put
about
that on-
40.
So you'll put that on the agenda for our next meeting, along with any other minutes that are, well, along with the minutes for this meeting.
Right.
Because I think even if the minutes are not ready to be voted on, they should be referred to in the agenda. So that we can keep track of the ones that haven't been approved. I just don't want this one to get slipped under the rug.
Right.
Right.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Stu. All right, we'll do the vote. Stu,
Yes.
Rosemary,
Yes.
Christine,
Yes.
Janice,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay. All right. April, we need the April minutes. Okay. The last item is the review of past sureties, recommendation to town council, and possible vote, gravel bonds, Fund 500. My question on that was, what else is there? Because the March 13 minutes showed that we did vote on those and did release them. So I don't know, Jennifer, did you have something else in addition?
Did you? I didn't think you did release them.
Yep.
Is that what?
March 13 minutes, item B, gravel funds. Ms. Gomes made a motion to release 481153 in the town to the town's general fund. Mr. Ramonte seconded it. Took a vote. We already did them. I didn't know if you had something else in relation to it, but yeah, those were, we did it. That's why I was confused.
Are you sure it was for gravel bonds?
Gravel bonds, Fund 500, 481153. Is that the amount?
48. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Then that was my miss.
I know, I was trying to figure it out, and then I went back and I found the March 13 minutes. I go, wait a minute, we did those. So
It only took me 3 years to get you to release them, so I thought it'd be coming back. So.
Yeah.
I know.
I was a little
okay,
scared.
well that's
it's persistence.
Okay.
Persistence. Okay, thank you, everyone. I think we made it. So the next meeting will be July 13. We delayed it a week again because of the July 4th weekend. So we have.
But just so everyone knows, just to inform the board, I think I spoke to the chairwoman.
What?
The executive order regarding hybrid meetings is going to continue until the legislature is out of session. So once that executive order expires, we will no longer be obligated to have hybrid meetings, with one important exception. There is a state law pending that may or may not pass. It's kind of on a shaky ground right now, that will require the following boards and commissions to continue to allow the public to participate in a hybrid fashion. Those include the planning and zoning boards, town councils, and school committees. So if that passes, we're hoping they'll give us a grace period. So we don't have to do it right away because we don't really have the technology to have a hybrid meeting. So until we have that technology, we would have to continue to do it by Zoom only. So just to let you know.
When does the legislature end?
Well, when they get done. So there's no hard deadline, but they usually try to get out by June 30th. But I've been there July 5th, so
Oh, but it's coming soon.
coming soon. Yeah.
Like if we wanted to have a, say a field walk or site walk,
Yep.
could we do it?
You know, it's a good question. Rosemary, I would have to think about that. I guess you'd have to make I guess you'd have to record it somehow and post it at a later date. I don't know how the public would be able to do that. I mean, because if you did have a site walk, you normally would invite the planning board and anybody members of the public who would want to come, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking more of the TRC stuff, like we can go walk.
Yeah, well, TRC would not be subject because that's not the planning board. It's just a subcommittee, like a specialized committee. But TRC could certainly have a site visit without having to have a hybrid. But the whole planning board, if they had a site visit, say you went to look at a solar farm or something.
Oh God, no.
That would be problematic, I think.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
So I guess the short answer is be prepared for hybrid meetings probably forever.
That's crazy. Okay. All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn at, what is it, 10, whatever? I can't see the time on my computer. I don't know if it's 10:10, 10:12.
10:11.
11. Motion to adjourn. Who said that? Was that you, Rosemary?
No.
Oh, who said that?
Privilege motion.
Well, who made the motion to adjourn?
I don't know.
Did somebody?
How about without objection, the committee will adjourn? How's that, Madam Chair?
No, I'll make the motion. 10:11.
10:11. Okay.